Welcome to Santa Clarita Weekly, where we cover all things local in Santa Clarita Valley every Saturday morning at 9 on KQRU 107.9. Join hosts Tim Haddock and Sage Rafferty as they uncover the latest news, events, sports highlights, and more, keeping you connected and engaged with what matters most in our hometown.
Welcome back. Welcome back to another edition of Santa Clarita Weekly with Tim Haddock and Sage Rafferty. I'm Sage. He's Tim. And you can listen to us on the radio at KQRU 107.9 FM on Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock. We're also on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram, and you can find us online at santaclaritastar.com. So Colleen Hawkins, the superintendent of the Saugus Union School District, has been targeted by Moms for Liberty and other members of the community recently for her decisions related to the district. In sports, the West Ranch boys basketball team won its first two games of the season, and the Valencia girls basketball team is undefeated and improved to fight. The Rams beat the Saints on the road, but it was ugly. And the NHL, the LA Kings called up a new goalie, and put together a 3-game winning streak. So Colleen Hawkins, the superintendent of the Saugus Union School District, has come under fire for her leadership in the district. It is coming mostly from a group called Moms for Liberty, which is a national group that has a chapter here in LA County, mostly Santa Clarita based. It's a collection of parents and community members with extremist conservative views, and they want to ban books from schools and libraries. They tried to remove 2 books from a book fair at Mountain View Elementary earlier this year, and they're trying to implement discriminatory policies toward gay and trans students in schools. So that is just a slice of the extreme views that Moms for Liberty have. But Rebecca Sewell Heineman, whose child was a student in the Saugus School District, talked to Tim about the superintendent and what she has done for the district and community.
So during the past couple of Saugus School District board meetings, members of the Moms for Liberty have publicly confronted Superintendent Colleen Hawkins with some unwarranted accusations. They blame her for closing Santa Clarita Elementary School, decreased enrollment in the district, and low morale among teachers and staff members. All of those things are out of a superintendent's control. Yet the superintendent is being blamed for those decisions. Perhaps one of her roles as superintendent is to listen to the critics who question her decisions, but lately it has become abusive. Hawkins was the superintendent during the pandemic and guided the district successfully through remote learning, vaccine and mask mandates, and putting health protocols in place on campus once students returned. It was a challenging time for all superintendents and ministry and school districts throughout the country. For that alone, Hawkins should be celebrated. Instead, she has come under attack for having to make tough decisions in the community that is seeing declines in enrollment, fewer students in the district, and aging facilities and buildings on campuses. To put it simply, it's not an easy job. Rebecca Sewell Hinman, whose child was a student in the Saugus district, has seen how abusive the Moms for Liberty and other members of the community have been toward Hawkins. Hinman doesn't agree with the criticism and sees more constructive contributions Hawkins has brought to the district. She wanted to talk to us about how Hawkins has improved the district and addressed the complaints about Hawkins. So let's start off with just a couple of questions that I had for you about Colleen. Is the criticism warranted? She is being criticized by members of the Moms for Liberty. Why do you think they are concentrating on Colleen Hawkins?
I think that they're concentrating on Dr. Hawkins because they think that she's pushing what they would call a liberal agenda. She's following state mandate. She's following the Association for American Psychologists and other teachers and learning programs to make or help our students learn. A lot of this has to do with inclusion, and inclusion has become a firebrand word. It's become, thought of as, everyone must get together. It's, LGBTQIA, all of this. Inclusion is more than that. It's allowing all students to learn, all students to be in the same classroom, regardless of learning abilities. And, this is productive for disabled students, for special education students that have IEPs, 504s, things like that, and having them mainstreamed in with other students. California does have a mandate to include everyone in education. And I think that maybe where some of the problems are arising is that the funding isn't always there. to get the teachers what they need, whether it be supplies, furniture, things like that, to being able to put an aide in certain classrooms to help the teacher with the few students that may need that extra support or guidance so that they're not as disruptive in the class. So, it part of that whole DEI, don't say DEI, diversity. I'm having a moment. It's equality and inclusion.
Equality and inclusion, yes.
Yeah. And, for some reason, those words have become dirty words and they shouldn't be. It's what makes us better people.
So where do you think all of this originated from? When did it start, and who was the catalyst behind it?
It's definitely started in the last 4 years, mask mandates, things like that. They really started nitpicking Colleen more, and I'm not exactly sure why, like what was the turning point or anything like that, but they've labeled her as a progressive who's trying to bring about change. She talks openly about our PBS programs, SEL, things like that, inclusion. And compared to other districts, for some reason, they don't get bothered by that as much. But for some reason in the Saugus Union District, they're struggling with it more. They've gotten more pushback from teachers, from parents especially. They think that it's not healthy, even though the programs now clearly are creating success. Our numbers are going up. Our testing scores are going up. Schools are being awarded. We're getting national awards, local awards, state awards for excellence in education.
Speaking of those programs, and I know that Dr. Hawkins has been the source of a lot of these programs, getting them introduced into the district and seeing that they are successful. Can you describe ones in particular that you find have been successful and have been constructive? I mean, ones that are still building.
I believe it's PBIS, and then I'm forgetting the name. There is one program, and they've created a learning program where they're taking the students that need the extra boost and they're going back, and it's more of a circular education. So it's always touching back, and they're building and they're learning and coming back. But having the positive reinforcement also has really helped. It encourages the students to do better. It's not a punishment system anymore. So, it's like when you build a child's confidence, you're going to have more success in their learning capabilities. I think part of the problem with the installation is support, is that there seems to be a missing segment of support for the teachers, whether it be through the administration, district, state. We're lacking some of that extra support.
Okay, so kind of leads me to my next question is, where do you think she needs to focus more attention on? And does she have the resources to put more attention on different programs?
I think right now the focus needs to be on the teachers. The teachers have been through hell in the last 4 years. They're tired, they're overworked, they're underpaid. And some of those solutions aren't immediate. Increasing teacher salaries just not feasible with the budgets that keep being given. And especially with what's on the horizon right now, we may be losing even more funding as we go forward. With helping the teachers, there needs to be more communication within the administration to get the teachers met, whether it's basic needs of like, hi, I need a chair, getting those learning elements that will help the teachers teach better. And sometimes those learning elements are aids, and some of that is funding as well. And then some of it's training. Training has been discussed a lot amongst the teachers. The teachers are constantly training, but sometimes the aides that come into the classroom, and I can even attest to this because I did become a certified instructional aide, the training isn't as hands-on as you would think. It's more of follow the teacher's lead. Okay, in this situation, you really want to kind of do this, but you're not given the actual tools of how do I really help? How do I, work with students that have higher needs, things like that.
Okay. And if one more question, just my final question to end it on. We talked about teachers and the staff needing more focus, needing more attention. So how much support does Colleen have with the teachers and the staff in the district?
So that's the $1 million question, to be honest. I feel like, and this isn't just an SD problem, this is pervasive amongst most districts. You have your superintendent, you have your board, and they have their goals and what they want to see. You have an administration that needs to set forward, here's what you need to be doing. And there's some kind of breakdown in the communication, I think, seriously, between board and the superintendents getting to the teachers, and vice versa, getting the teachers heard by the right people and getting their needs met. I think they need to increase their communication. I think they need to be more receptive to, hi, we're having a problem, instead of, they get some pushback when they have problems or when they're complaining. Some of them are fearful. They don't want to lose their jobs. Honestly, I don't see a teacher losing their job right now because we're losing teachers faster than anything else. But there needs to be better communication. I know for SUSD, part of the problem there have been some change in board members. And so certain things can no longer be discussed as openly as they used to be, especially in certain situations and things like that, because information is getting out that should not be out, or it's getting mishandled. And so they're now having to be more cautious with how they're running things and doing things and what they're saying. Moms for Liberty has made the room uncomfortable. From attacking, we're having books hidden at book fairs. They want to remove books from our libraries. They don't call it banning, but when you restrict someone from accessing something that they need, that's a ban. But they're also, almost every school in SUSD has integrated all of their events so that they're more inclusive, so that everyone can go, no matter what your family looks like, who you are, what you're doing, you can be invited. We do have one school that is rebelling against that. And they do have exclusionary events, and, financially, depending upon how your family is made, not everybody lives with their mom and dad. We do have quite a large foster system up here. So, it's a lot of things, and there's a lot of attacks. Political hot button issues are taking away from where we really need to be concentrating and focusing on, which is education, and making sure our teachers have what they need. The administration is getting their job done, and the students are learning. And that's been lost in all of the politics of this, is that, our students are here to learn and grow and become better people. And until we kind of put the politics aside, the kids are going to be caught in the crossfire, and the teachers are going to be exhausted.
Okay. Well, thank you for shedding some light on what's going on in the Saugus School District. I know that it has been tumultuous, to say the least, at least the last year. Last few meetings have been very contentious. So hopefully we will see some changes in the district and more support for the superintendent, who has been doing a good job.
Yes, she has.
Been doing a good job. But again, thank you. Thank you for your time, and thank you for answering our questions.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay.
You're listening to KQRU 107.9 FM in Santa Clarita. You can listen to Santa Clarita Weekly on Saturday mornings at 9 and on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you listen to podcasts. So I'm going to turn it over to Tim to talk about high school sports. Tim?
Okay, so the high school basketball season in the Foothill League is about to get underway. They're almost ready to start their league portion of the season. All the teams, boys and girls teams, have been playing their preseason games. They've been playing in a lot of tournaments over Thanksgiving and trying to get ready for when the Foothill League season opens. The West Ranch boys won their first two basketball games of the season. They're off to a good start. West Ranch boys beat Burroughs of Burbank 88-37 for their second win of the season. West Ranch plays Castaic in their Foothill League opener next. The Canyon High boys basketball team won its first 5 games of the season before losing to Rolling Hills Prep. Canyon beat Granada Hills, Pacific Christian Santa Monica, and Bishop Amat before losing to Rolling Hills Prep 93-56. Canyon plays Saugus in the first Foothill League game next. Castaic boys lost for the first time in 5 games to start the season. Moore Park beat Castaic 84-53 and dropped the Coyotes to 4-1. Castaic opens Foothill League play against Golden Valley. The Hart boys basketball team beat Flint Ridge Prep in the San Gabriel Thanksgiving tournament, improving to 2-1. Hart plays Valencia in the Foothill League opener. The Golden Valley boys won 3 games in a row and beat Ventura 69-60 in the Simi Valley tournament. Golden Valley also beat Lancaster and Foothill Tech before losing to Crespi. Golden Valley is 4-3 after 7 games. The Saugus boys basketball team beat Cleveland 74-67, but lost to Notre Dame Sherman Oaks in the Paul Sutton tournament at Providence High School. Saugus is 2-2 after 4 games and plays Canyon in the Foothill League opener next. The Valencia boys basketball team lost 3 games in a row to Chehelbit in the West Valley Tip-Off Classic and Chaminade and Agura. Valencia is 1-6 after their first 7 games. The Vikings play Hart in their Foothill League opener. Valencia girls basketball team is undefeated. They've won their first 5 games of the season. They won their 5th game in a row and are 5-0. Valencia beat Granada Hills 48-42. Era Mikel led the way with 17 points and 10 rebounds. She also had 4 steals and 3 blocks. Freshman Camila Basarova chipped in with 10 points. Valencia plays Hart in the Foot League opener next. The Hart girls basketball team beat Chino Hills 64-47 to improve to 3-1 after 4 games. Andrea Aina scored 29 points and had 11 rebounds in the win over Chino Hills. Morgan Mack had 19 points and 5 assists. The Canyon girls beat Newbury Park and won their 2nd game of the season. Canyon is 2-1 and plays Saugus in the Foot League opener next. The West Ranch girls beat North Hollywood but lost to Simi Valley. West Ranch is 3-2 after 5 games. The Wildcats play Castaic in their Foot League opener. The Castaic girls beat Fillmore but lost to Santa Barbara. Castaic is 2-3 after 5 games. The Saugus girls beat St. Mary's Academy to win its first game of the season, but lost to Hamilton in the St. Mary's Kickoff Classic. Saugus is 1-3 after 4 games. The Golden Valley girls beat Vasquez High in Acton 39-30 for their first win of the season. Golden Valley is 1-4 after 5 games. The Grizzlies play Verdugo Hills before the start of the Foothill League season. I'm going to hand it off to Sage to talk about the Rams.
Hey, thank you, Tim. So let's talk about the NFL. So it took the Rams 2 quarters to wake up against the Saints in New Orleans. 4th quarter touchdown by Puka Nacua gave the Rams a much-needed 21-14 win over the Saints. The Rams were shut out in the first half and trailed 6-0 in halftime, but the Rams scored 3 touchdowns in the second half and held the Saints to 8 points to pull out the win and stay in contention for the NFC West title. So the Rams won, and the first place Seattle Seahawks won, but the Arizona Cardinals and San Francisco 49ers lost to shake up the NFC West standings. The Seahawks led with a 7-5 record. The Rams and Cardinals are tied for second place at 6-6. The 49ers are starting to fade and dropped to 5-7. So running back Kyron Williams scored the first touchdown for the Rams against the Saints in the 3rd quarter. It gave the Rams a 7-6 lead. Marcus Robinson extended the lead to 14-6 with a touchdown catch. Robinson, who was arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence and speeding in Woodland Hills after the game against the Philadelphia Eagles, was in the lineup and came through with another timely touchdown for the Rams. The Saints tied the score 14-14 midway through the 4th quarter, but Nacua caught a 7-yard touchdown pass to break the tie and give the Rams the lead late in the game. So Rams coach Sean McVay talked about Nacua's touchdown catch and how his team played against the Saints.
Sort of setbacks, just being erring on the side of caution. And then Verse tweaked his ankle a little bit yesterday. We're just going to be smart with him, but don't expect that to affect either of those guys' availability, but they will be listed as questionable. That's the expectation, yes. Man, you knew that how talented he was, but the versatility, I asked him if he picked out his outfit for Goo, but he was awesome. I thought he did a great job, filming that this summer, and it was impressive. Just, he's got such range. He's so talented and gifted, and he still works at that, and you could see his teammates were impressed. We showed that in the team meeting today, the Goo Goo Dolls, when he was singing that and put his own spin on it, and it was cool. We had fun with that. I don't know, you'd have to ask them. But I do know this. They said, hey, whoever that Goo guy is sounds like he can sure damn sing. And then Kobe ended up going a cappella on us in the team meeting. But he's very gifted, is a man of many blessings. Well, I think you have a lot of guys that have a bunch of different experiences that they can connect, relate to. Guys that have played in this league for a while, guys that have been through a bunch of different stuff, and then guys that are younger in their careers that are very similar to what Emmanuel's going through. And obviously Aubrey and Coach Beak and Mike do a great job leading the way. But I think you got a bunch of great dudes in there that are willing to share and pour into one another and positively push each other to reach and realize their highest potential. There's a great vibe in there. You go in that DB room, and Aubrey does such a good job of setting a comfortable tone where there's a good balance of, all right, the urgency where we're focusing on things, but then let's get to know each other as human beings as well. And I think that allows for guys, especially when you're being onboarded, to have a comfort and a connection that's really important where, hey, I can relate to this situation, or where have you been and where are we going, and feel like guys are putting their arm around you and excited to be able to help you grow.
So next up for the Rams is the Buffalo Bills. Tim, so the Rams defense kept them in the game. Were there any specific moments or players on defense that stood out besides versus late game play? Any interceptions, forced fumbles or goal line stands?
But it wasn't any one particular player on defense. I mean, the defense showed up to play against the Saints. They held the Saints without a touchdown in the first half and only gave up a couple field goals. Because of the defense, the Rams only trailed 6-0 at halftime. The offense couldn't do anything in the first half for whatever reason. They were just out of rhythm, and they couldn't do anything. So the Rams defense did show up. Rams defense did play very well, and Jared Verse played a great game throughout. He was one of the reasons, the rookie that the Rams drafted in the first round last year. He played well, and they said he was one of the reasons why the Saints weren't able to score any touchdowns. He was a big reason why their offense wasn't working very well either. So it was a good defensive game, good game by the defense on the Rams. It just took the Rams, half the game to figure out how to get the offense rolling. And once Matthew Stafford and Kyron Williams started finding a rhythm, finding a way to move the ball down the field, it started working for the Rams. So the defense had played a big part in this game, and it was a game that the Rams needed to win if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive.
All right, so the Rams Week 14 matchup against the Bills is a must-win game. But what makes this game so crucial beyond keeping pace in the division? Does it impact tiebreakers or send a message to the rest of the NFC?
Yeah, this is the big game because the Rams do need to win this game if they want to keep pace with the Seahawks. Seahawks look like they're going to be the team to catch in the NFC West. It's probably going to come down to the Seahawks and the Rams to whoever's going to win the NFC West title. Aside from that, the Bills are probably one of the best teams in the NFL this year. People are saying that, the experts are saying that the Bills are definitely Super Bowl contenders. The Rams would send a huge message to the rest of the league if they can beat the Bills in this game, not only because it'll show that they're still a playoff team and they're in contention for the NFC West Championship, but they can play with the best teams in the league too, and they haven't really shown that yet. And they didn't play well against the Philadelphia Eagles, and they've had their struggles, and they had a bad game against the Arizona Cardinals early on in the year too. So they need one of these wins. They need a signature win over a top team to show that they are for real. And so this is a big game for a couple of reasons. Number one, they need to win to keep pace with the Seahawks and to stay in contention in the NFC West, but they also need this win to show the rest of the league that they are one of those top tier teams.
So what specifically are the few things that need to break the Rams' way in the conference? Are there specific teams that need to lose, or is it more about the overall performance?
Well, see, the 3 of the last 5 games for the Rams are against, number 1, the Cardinals, and 2 against the Seahawks. And then they have another game. The Bills game is important too. But the two of those games, the game against the Cardinals and the game against the Seahawks, are very important. Those will determine the Rams' playoff destiny. I mean, if they win those 2 games, if they can beat the Cardinals and beat the Seahawks, they will be in control of their own destiny in the NFC West and their own destiny in the playoffs. But if they do struggle against them and lose to the Seahawks or Cardinals down the stretch here, it's going to cost them. I think it's going to cost them a playoff spot, and it's going to cost them a chance to continue their season once regular season is over.
All right, so let's switch sports and talk about the NHL. So the Kings called up Eric Portillo, the team's top goalie prospect, and he won the first game of his NHL career. He made 28 saves, and the Kings beat the Anaheim Ducks 2-1. Portillo was a third-round draft pick of the Buffalo Sabres in 2019. The Kings traded for him last year, but he is going to be the backup to David Rittich while Darcy Kemper is recovering from an injury. The Kings have put together a 3-game winning streak since an embarrassing 7-2 loss to the San Jose Sharks. The win against the Ducks was the second in the 3-game streak. The Kings also beat the Winnipeg Jets and Ottawa Senators. Alex Leferrier scored his 10th goal of the season against the Ducks. Kings coach Jim Hiller talked about Portillo's debut against the Ducks.
Throw a curveball at you then, right? You used both goalies today.
Yeah, well, we didn't like him, so we thought we'd take him out and give him a drink of water and just catch a breath.
So he had backed up David on occasion here. So then what made today the day and the right day to put Eric in?
No particular reason. No. we're playing them back-to-back, so we said we were going to play them one of the two for sure, and it happened to be today, and they did a really good job. I was glad we played them today.
You made that big in this game too, facing 31 shots, and especially in the third period, some of the quality of the shots that he was facing too, even coming out at Troy Terry like that. Like, what did you think about just his expertise in game one?
Yeah, well, I thought maybe he looked a little nervous early, but boy, did he get himself together in a hurry. And there's not much to say. He was fantastic. He was big. It's the one thing I noticed. He was big. His legs are long and quick. He couldn't have had a better debut.
What did you sense as far as his emotions and composure from the time you told him, hey, you're starting, to when he actually got out there?
You'd have to ask the goalie coach. I didn't even tell him he started. Have him talk to him.
Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of insulate yourself
talk to him
from
after.
that.
Yeah,
okay.
no, the goalie coach handles that, as he should. They've got a relationship. Yeah, clearly he was ready to go. His family was over to watch the game, which was really nice, I think, to see his debut, and maybe that was the magic. Who knows?
So the Kings are home for games against the Dallas Stars and Minnesota Wild before heading to New York for a game against the Islanders. But Tim, were there any specific moments that showcased Portillo's performance, like a tough save after a turnover or staying calm during a scramble in the front of the net?
Well, the one thing I will say about Portillo's debut was that the Kings didn't do him any favors. I mean, he was in a tight game. The Kings weren't scoring a lot of goals, weren't generating a whole lot of offense for him. And so he needed to come up with some big saves and come up with some big plays. And he rose to the occasion. I'll give him that much. The Kings didn't give much to work with, but he made what they gave him work. I don't know how to say it any easier. He had 2 goals to work with. Alex Laferriere, who's been one of the best players on the Kings all year, came through with another big goal, and Portillo made 28 saves, and he looked good the whole game. He was able to stop a lot of the scoring chances for the Ducks. So I don't know if there was any one particular play or one particular moment that stood out in the game. It's just he made a lot of good saves, a lot of big plays, and because of him, the Kings were able to pull out a tough 2-1 win.
Okay, so how did the Kings generate offense in this game? Was it a strong offensive performance, or did they rely on Portillo to keep them in the game?
Yeah, it was not a strong offensive performance, and this has been kind of one of the problems with the Kings this year, is that they have these games, these gaps where they have a hard time scoring goals and generating offense, and I'm not sure exactly what they can do to change it. But yeah, this was not a good offensive game for the Kings. The goals didn't come easy, and the scoring chances, they didn't happen very often against the Ducks. But the Ducks games are always a tough game for the Kings. It's a rivalry game, and these two teams just really don't like each other, and they play each other tough. They seem to go to a different level when they get on the ice. It wasn't a good offensive game for the Kings, but they generated enough offense to win, and that's really at the end of the day, that's all that really matters, is that they were able to score a couple goals and give their goalie a little something to work with, at least enough to work with to win the game.
All right. So thank you, Tim. But that's our show. So tune in next week for more discussions about the news from Santa Clarita. You can listen to us on the radio at KQRU 107.9 FM at 9 on Saturday mornings. You can also watch us on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, and listen to us on SantaClaritaStar.com, wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave us a comment and be sure to subscribe to Santa Clarita Weekly online. Thank you for listening and have a great week.
Thank you for listening to Santa Clarita Weekly. You can watch the show on Santa Clarita Star's YouTube channel and Facebook page, as well as listen in on the radio at KQRU 107.9. Visit SantaClaritaStar.com